Today, we upholster. What you're going to want to do is actually clean off your work surface before you start working the vinyl. It's always a good idea to get rid of all the hog rings and all that before you go any further. If you don't, you could stand a chance of actually ripping your vinyl and putting a tear in it or a mark in it from the hog rings. What I'll also do then is I'll go in and I'll hand feel the surface as well, and I'll wipe out way beyond where I'm going to be working just to make sure I'm good to go. And the bottom. Now, the first thing you want to do is to put your listing rods back in. This is the listing rod for the back section. The rod goes through here. All right, so you put this one in for the back and this one in for the center. And I'm going to take and use the clipped ends and pull them out over. And now what you're going to want to do is flip this thing over. And what you're hunting for is this right here. And now, when we start hog ringing. All right, now I'm going to talk quickly about hog ring pliers. This is literally a moment of personal preference. I actually like the straight handle pliers. The ones that I've got here are nice because they have a tension spring on them that will hold the hog ring in place for you until you start to clamp it. So you put your hog ring in there, you open it up, put your hog ring in there, and you can close it down on it. The other style is the opposite. You hold the hog ring in place. This is an angled pair I have that I use occasionally on some areas of upholstery that are really hard to get to. But what I find is with the angled ones, it's a little harder to get a good push down on with the angled top. I much prefer having this kind of a handle. What I'm doing though, and this is something that's really critical in seat upholstery installation on this type of upholstery, is I am going to find center on this seat, which is about right here. And I'm going to make sure that as long as they put the listing container in, or the woven portion of this in correctly, and it's in the center, which it looks like it probably is, if we pull everything back and we check position, if this is in the center, I should be able to just take this and roll it into position here, find that center wire, and clamp it in. Check your wire after you get done with it. All right, I'm going to go in and put the two outside ones in. I'll go in and I dig in on the listing wire and I push them into play and I clamp them in. One per end. This one's basically already, so to speak, set because the other two are in play. And now that looks good, it's ready to go. Now what you're going to want to do is to move to one side or the other. I am going to check position. And what I'm doing is I'm rolling this cushion down to see if it's following the corner line on this with the listing wires down inside of the cavity, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to set it on this center because our position around the outside perimeter is okay. This is the only disadvantage to the ones that I like, is loading it. All right, I've got the wire and everything pulled together, and I'm trying to make these clip in as tightly as I possibly can. 3 positions on the sides. Ford did these for speed. I want these covers to be real easy to get installed. Pushing the wire down in the listing sleeve and then setting it. Spin it around, do the other side. Note that I'm putting pressure down on the seat when I'm putting the hog rings in. I'm not going to do this one yet. That's going to be secondary because I want to have a little bit of pull room to get the covers over the top edge here. We're going to have to work a little bit funny here because the seat plate needs to bolt directly to this underneath the seat cover. So this side can't be mounted yet. This side probably could be mounted. And I'm going to look at it and see if I need to do a couple of my little tricks that I use when I'm working these seats. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put pressure on the seat, I'll roll the listing wire up, and then I'll set a hog ring in here. First set of seat covers I ever did, I did at my mom and dad's house on the carpet. I don't recommend doing that because the hog rings were everywhere. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to look at this and see what I'm going to need to do to get a good tight seat cover on here. One thing you want to watch is your corners, and you want to roll these up into a good seating position. What I mean by that is this stuff, the seam inside, can sit in one of two directions. Either it can sit up, so you want to put it to the outside all the way around, or it can sit to the inside of the seat on this side. Typically what I want to do is put it to the outside. If you can do it, I also recommend on the vintage car seats especially doing a new bun, because that will help tension everything up as well. Now here I'm going to want to go in, I'm going to do a roll up. See, that's the center of the seat. I'm not saying that's going to work completely. Pull it over, take a look at it. Okay, I'm going to try and get the listing wire here set. We're a little bit short on this one. You have to be careful not to go in and rip the listing. It's okay if you put a kink in the wire, because we've got two other places we've got to go with this. I don't think that one's going to actually hold. It's not far enough up. That might have tightened up our center. Yeah, that's pretty good on the center. I'm really worried on these particular seat covers because this feels really short here, and I can't pull it back enough. I'm going to have to pull it back like this, and this is going to have to come over to cover that up. I'm hoping that'll work with our piece here. That's what this is really for, is to take this and pull it around and set it like that so that the other side of it will stay up. But the problem with that is you have to really almost pull it back this way and put it on the listing rods over here. And there really isn't anything out here to set it to, because that's really what it needs to see right there. So I'll have to try to pull that in to like right there in order for this to cover all that up. And then hopefully, I can't put a lot of tension on this. Originally, when these seats were done, this was supposed to go over here on this piece here and pull this way. That's what this was for. The overage was so that you could pull the seat cover around. But what's going to happen on this is it's tending to want to bow out and that's not really ideal because you're going to be able to see all this with the top part of the seat on there even so. The only thing I might try to do in here is to put some polyfill in this section here to tighten that up visually. I'm still going to do one turn on these to set them, but I'm going to see if I can put just a piece of polyfill in there and what that would do for how this looks up front. Sometimes that's what this is all about, is just trying to figure out what's going to look decent and what's going to work. I might even go now that I'm seeing that and pull out these hog rings, because this is actually not running square across here. We're wider here than we are here. So I'm going to take these hog rings out, and I'm going to probably do a polyfill run at least on these three sides to here, so that it kind of bulks this out a little bit. So this is part of what it is if you're an unprofessional person. But honestly, I'm pretty sure even if you're in a professional upholsterer and you're using these upholstery kits that are out there like this, it can get kind of sporty with having to redo stuff sometimes. I don't want to go too far back here. I'm going to probably stop the polyfill maybe about right there. And I'm going to wrap it around the front, so I need a longer section of it. I'm going to throw in a test here. Just one hog ring to see how this is going to sit. Now I'll probably have to go in and cut this down a little bit, but I might even just leave it and let it roll, because that actually sits better in the front, has a little bit more nose to it. The biggest problem is going to be that corner and the other corner, because it's going to be hard to keep them from pooching. But that at least is now laying pretty nice. This corner is going to be a problem. Here's the mini slip between cup and lip. Okay, what we've got going on is I'm having a problem trying to get this thing to set, because this piece here continually wants to roll out. And one of the differences is that I see is that Ford did a round cut here, and there's far more material on the outside than there is on this. This is a square end cut, and the material is very short on this lower corner. And this is also more rounded at the back than this new piece is. This is going to be a problem. You're not going to probably be able to get this seat to set up correctly unless you do this. What we would probably do after the fact is take this and get someone like a seamstress or possibly an upholstery shop to go in and baseball stitch this all the way down from probably about right here. And then this part here, we could probably push the cushion over enough to be able to make it to work, and just have this stitched after everything's completed. As it stands right now, no matter what I do, this is not going to fold in and play nicely. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you have your original upholstery and you're having a real struggle with something, check the original upholstery to see if the new stuff matches up. So far, that's not too good. The rest of it, I'm pretty happy with the way it lays. It's not too bad. Little things will need to be done to it overall to make it fit better. But, you know, like the polyfill that we did on the side over here, that's just to make this bolster, when you're looking inside the car, look a little bit better. All right, I'm going to set this seat aside so we can start working on the top, because we have to put the two pieces together in order to finish up this outside bolster, because of the way the seat is put together, with the upper portion bolting down to here, and then this will have to be put in. We'll probably have to go into a little bit of polyfill on this side as well to get to kind of fill out like we have on the outside section here. I'm going to set it aside. Now these are a little different because they do have the armrests. So we're going to go in and pull these plates back. All right, the bolts that hold the armrest on are actually a 5/8. And you have a pressure washer and a regular main washer here. Set this aside, pull the armrest off. The armrests on these are in pretty good shape. Sometimes what can happen on these armrests is that because of pressure on the top of the armrest, the foam will get kind of beat out and you'll need to go in and put some polyfill back in here. These are in pretty good shape and we'll do these in just a little bit. You take these and roll them up and pull them off. Most of the time, if you're going to have a problem with these, it's going to be the driver's side that is eating up the most on the top of the foam. Again, I'm trying not to wreck these in case you want to send them off to get them worked by the guys at National Parts Depot. Now, the one thing that's missing off the new seat covers on the back is this pocket assembly here. I think it's kind of cool that these are on here, but it's a fairly complex piece. Don't know that you're actually ever going to see this on a new seat that you're going to get. I'm going to just go ahead and use my like that one ricocheted off my arm. Now, some GM cars, these kind of setups are actually use a zipper in the bottom back. All right, now I'm going to take these side plates off. This is roughly a 5/32 or something. It depends because oddly enough, I think someone's been into this seat before because this is an Allen head screw and the other side is a set screw. So that's not working right. Try this one. In any case, these two plates need to come out. This may even be a metric fastener on these, who knows. This is the 80s, so along with velour, you got pretty much everything else. These plates need to come off. I'm going to put them over here with their fasteners on the armrest. Just set them over there on them for now. And now this, I'm going to gently pull the fabric up around the stud like that, so it'll come off. I'm going to flip it over and I got to find the size because this one is a completely different fastener. I think this one's the actual correct one. This one is a 3/32, I think. These aren't readers, so I don't know for sure. Okay, now it should be enough that we can pull this over along the top and then roll the seat cover off. Because it has this plate in the very center back, it's kind of a problem for wanting to roll, not wanting to roll up. And I can't get it to roll up because of this. So the back just has to bunch. Okay, now there's hog rings inside of here that you're going to have to cut out. Now the top cover should come off. but not without a fight. By the way, if you're doing this and you have arthritis in your hands, I recommend some Advil or ibuprofen before you get started. I can't fling it like I normally would because it's not a flinging item. All right, I'm going to try getting this on here. What I'm going to probably have to do is set this up. So I will disappear to camera 1 for a minute. I'm going to set this on. Try pulling it down into position because this is usually the biggest slog on these seat covers, because now if I get this all the way down, I've got to roll the rest of the seat back up in order to get everything put back together the way it's supposed to be. Because you have to set that center listing or this is going to fly in the wind like it is right now. Trying to get this thing all the way down so that I can pull part of it back up in order to get the seat cover to install completely. This is what's going to give you your form, and then putting these two pieces together in the back here is going to give you the rest of it. Pretty close at the top, but not quite there yet. And I don't want to cut anything as far as our pinpoints on the sides until I'm sure that I got this top set the way I want it. All right, that's pretty close. Just going in and checking my seams before I set everything to make sure they're sitting the way I want them to sit. I have to go and do some massaging work sometimes too to get the vinyl to lay the way it needs to lay. Like on this one, that corner is a little low on these covers. Unless I went in and pulled everything back apart and put some polyfill in there, that's going to be real hard to pull in and make set right. I'll try something here. Okay. The danger in rolling one of these seat covers back out to get to that spot right there is that you stand a chance of possibly ripping these corners down here on the sides. And so it's a real delicate operation to do a roll. It can be done. Hit right there, maybe enough. We have to pull a little bit more down. Just a tad. Now I can get to these, and then we'll just have to pull the cover back down and set the base. Now, roll it back on. Now, on these kind of seats, There's not a lot you can do for this. Now we'll show you one thing that you can try with a hair dryer or a heat gun. It's always a risky job though. Actually worked with worse. Best tip I can give you on seats, set them outside in the sun for a couple of hours and then start going out and working these edges to pull those wrinkles out, because you can actually get a good bit of the wrinkles out. I just working that for a second, have made that right there and this right here look a ton better. Now I'm going to go in and put my listings down in the bottom and tie this whole thing together at the base. You always want to make sure that you got your listings fairly straight. Your listing rods, I should say. And on the forward seat, the two listing rods tie together. So I would probably start in the center and move to the outside. And they sewed the listing in on this side. Scissors can sometimes be your best friend doing upholstery work. Okay. Okay. This right now, what I'm fixing to show you here is probably the reason I like these type of pliers the best. I'm going to try to get this around where I can show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to be a little awkward here visually. I'm going to take this and this, and I'm going to try to go basically dead center on the seat. I'm going to start this hog ring and then I'm going to go grab this one. And I'm going to basically now go and do that all the way across the back. I'm going to go to the end here and I'll do 3 or 4 across that center point. All right, now I'm going to show you how I go in and find these pegs and pop them easily. Peg found. Now there's a hole right here for the actual armrest bolt, and I'll cut that out with using an X method first, and then I'll go in and start opening the hole up gradually with a pair of scissors. You can, if you've got a good pair of upholstery scissors, can go in and pop the hole using the point of the scissors like this, and that finds the hole for you. And then you can go and slowly trim around it with the scissors to make sure you got the right spot. Unfortunately, these aren't great upholstery scissors. These are merely mediocre upholstery scissors. Now the original upholstery, there was no foam on the back side of this. This does have the foam in here, so that can be somewhat problematic. I don't want to open this up too much. I'm going to take the foam and cut it away inside the hole a little bit with my crappy upholstery scissors. And then after we do the armrest, we'll be able to put these back on. I'm going to do the other side off camera because let's face it, it's the same thing. All right, last act of the day is going to be putting the armrest covers on. Somehow people will look at this and think this is probably the easiest thing to do, but honestly, it can be the biggest pain in the butt of all of it, because you need to make sure you're putting the cover on fairly straight and flat, because once it gets on here, it gets very tight. Looks like we're doing pretty good here. Now, what I'm going to do is Because we have a soft tabletop, we're not damaging our vinyl or anything on the back side of this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I talked to you a little bit earlier about with seaming. Our seams are pretty nice on this side. All of our seams are pretty much going the way I want them to go. I want the seams on the back side over here so that this has got a nice flat crisp side on it. That looks like it's a little bit out. Could go like that. I'm going to button this up in the back side here. They use zippers on these. Ford originally used a Velcro setup. Kind of a bummer that the zipper is so large. I'll roll these seams in here a little bit. Now I'm not going to install any of this because we are going to go in and re-dye these, so there's no point in assembling the entire seat. We showed you how everything comes apart, and we'll probably do a final out on this down the road after we dye the seats. If you want to see a video on dyeing these products out and changing the color to a canyon red, let us know in the comments below. Drop us a line and say, yeah, you want to see it. If you do, then we'll go in and we'll produce a video showing you how to dye this vinyl over, because there are a couple of things that you need to know. We've done a couple dyeing videos in the past. It's always good to get a refresher out there. That is, if you guys want one. If you don't want one, we won't do it. Okay, now the problem I've seen with both of these is that they're pretty loose here in the back. After I get everything installed and put together, I'll probably go in and just do a little light polyfill in the back section here to get these to roll and tighten up to look nicer than they look right now. Overall, I'd give these covers probably a B to a C. They're not the best I've ever seen, and they're not the worst. They're just okay. But they're workable, and they get you where you need to be if you want a decent looking interior on your classic Ford truck. Now, I could probably go in and use my hair dryer here. Right, that's it for right now. The reason I'm not going ahead and reassembling these seats is this is about as far down as I want to go in order to put the vinyl dye on here. Like I said, if you want to see that video, give us a shout down there. Do me a favor though, go out and check out our Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. If we've given you any kind of help at all throughout the years, you know, you could go in and do some support on there. It's just a nice way to say thank you for all that we do for you. It also helps me to be able to pay Andrew to come in here throughout the weeks and help with videos, as well as paying the kids who come in here on Saturdays to work with us. So it's a nice way to say thanks for what we do. Also, subscribe to the channel. We're on our march to 100,000 subscribers. We're getting danger close. Unless YouTube goes through and does another one of those humongous culls they like to do, when I get close to anything, we should be there pretty quick. We're at like 94,000 subscribers at this point. So please go out and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notification. Not sure that does you any good anymore, but be notified of the videos that we do. Also, be kind to each other, love each other, treat each other nice, and we'll see you next week on Autorestomod. So I'm going to just say this right now. This week has been a perfect storm. We have Andrew as our main normal guy because Cam was sick. Kids were out of town going to see their dad. It's just been a fun one. But I'm really liking these covers. I have to say that once I get these things on here, usually I'm a lot happier with them than I am in the middle of production. The only thing I'm a little sad on this one is the seat base because of some of the things we did. I actually do like them okay though. Now, I just have to go talk to the owner about getting some product for us to be able to do the vinyl dyeing and the other things. And then I got to do the other seat, but I'm not going to show you that because it's just like this seat, only on the driver's side. See ya.